Lord Baelish stroked his little pointed beard and said, "Nothing? Tell me, child, why would you have sent Sir Loras?" Sansa had no choice but to explain about heroes and monsters. The king's counselor smiled. "Well, those are not the reasons I'd have given, but—" He had touched her cheek, his thumb lightly tracing the line of a cheekbone. "Life is not a song, sweetling. You may learn that one day to your sorrow." A knight is not just a soldier or a bodyguard, but a legendary figure that exists in the minds of all. When we, or the characters in the story, imagine a knight, we see an idealized hero who is far different than the knights we see in practice, such as Gregor Clegane, Meryn Trant, and Dantos Hollard. Swearing by the lofty ideals of chivalry, they manage to commit some of the worst atrocities in the story, while going mostly unpunished because of the systems that protect them. The knight in shining armor in the story is Loras, one of the most beloved and successful knights in Westeros. But, like with many other characters, life gets messier than the stories. We meet Loras in his full glory at the Hands tournament, winning victory after victory until the final round against Gregor Clegane. Each time he wins, he hands out a rose to a girl in the audience, giving one to Sansa to her surprise. We see him here as Sansa does, a perfect picture of knighthood, though he isn't what he seems. He rides a mare in heat to startle Gregor Clegane's horse and defeat him. The story portrays clever characters in a positive light, such as Tyrion Lannister, but it's hard to deny that this was an underhanded tactic. Gregor tries to kill him before Sandor Clegane intervenes and saves Loras. This scene is the first that breaks the illusion of knighthood that Loras uses. Gregor is an easily hateable monster who would warn a gallant knight to defeat him, but Loras uses tricks and is almost killed when it comes down to a fight. Only Sandor, disillusioned with honor and titles, can stand up to the monster. And when Ned Stark needs to kill Gregor, people expect him to send Loras Tyrell, who is motivated by revenge and honor. Yet, Ned has seen the downfalls of Rhaegar and Robert, knowing that his fantasy is only going to cause harm. Her father's decision still bewildered her. When the Knight of Flowers had spoken up, she'd been sure she was about to see one of old Nan's stories come to life. Sir Gregor was the monster, and Sir Loras the true hero who would slay him. He even looked a true hero, so slim and beautiful, with golden roses around his slender waist, and his rich brown hair tumbling down into his eyes. And then Father had refused him. It had upset her more than she could tell. During a clash of kings, we see Loras join Renly's Rainbow Guard. He's given a chance to break free from the traditional ideas of government and knighthood, yet it won't last long. He loses a melee to Brienne when she tackles him, less underhanded than what he did during the joust, but still distasteful. And when he isn't on guard, Renly is killed using another cheap trick, long-range shadow assassins. In a rage, he kills the two guards who failed to protect his lover, and is forced to join the Baratheons at the Blackwater. It clicks for him here that knighthood and chivalry aren't the way of the world. Lies and deceit are the only way to succeed. Returning for the Battle of the Blackwater, he dresses up another man in Renly's armor to make Renly's troops abandon Stannis, helping the Baratheons claim victory and giving Loras a spot in the Kingsguard. Renly's death takes a heavy toll on Loras. In the next books of the series, his bold personality fades and we are left with yet another mournful, disillusioned knight. When Sansa meets him again, she sees no sign of the earlier Loras, with him not even remembering the rose he gave to her during the tourney. He gets defensive and harsh when she brings up Renly despite her good intentions. He laughs at Tyrion's trial and blames the innocent Sansa for Joffrey's death. Chivalry and honor are both behind him after Renly's death. He will take what he wants with cunning and tricks, if it means never having to go through that pain again. House Tyrell continues through my brothers, Sir Loras said. It is not necessary for a third son to wed or breed. Not necessary, but some may find it pleasant. What of love? When the sun has set, no candle can replace it. Is that from a song? Tyrion cocked his head, smiling. Yes, you are 17. I see that now. When he meets Jaime while he's reading the White Book, he's quizzed on many of the hundreds of members of the Kingsguard, to which he replies that most of them are irrelevant and don't need to be remembered. Jaime has started to see his young self in Loras. Both of them were rash and overconfident, with a love that couldn't be revealed publicly. At this point, Cersei's become jealous of Loras' attention from Tommen and the presence of the Tyrells in King's Landing. But a chance would present itself for her to get rid of him. Euron Greyjoy is on a rampage along the coast of Westeros, and they need the Red Wine fleet to take him down. Yet, they are busy trying to take Dragonstone from Stannis. Loras' youthful overconfidence and romanticized idealism have not yet left him, and he volunteers to bravely finish the siege. Yet, while they manage to take Dragonstone, Loras is on death's door due to gruesome injuries he suffered during the bloodbath. The entire battle was an unnecessary slaughter, caused entirely by his recklessness and impatience, and Loras is reported to have suffered blows from maces, arrows, and boiling oil. And this would have been a likely ending for Loras, our paragon of chivalry and courage being too overconfident at the cost of his life is a strong finale for his character arc. But something is off. Aurane Waters, who delivered the report, has motives that clash with Cersei, and lied to her to steal her ships. Believing Loras to be out of the question, Cersei's more likely to go forth in her trial against Margaery, and give Aurane the ship he needs. Many of the details also don't match up. Roland Storm, well known for being war-loving, declines Loras' offer for single combat, and they claim to find no valuable artifacts despite Dragonstone being where Targaryens lived. Perhaps the whole story was a lie, and Loras is alive. With Cersei digging a deeper and deeper hole for herself, like usual, Loras can return to King's Landing to fight in the trial by combat. But something will be different. I think that while Loras is still alive, he'll come back with a major injury, burns from the boiling oil. Loras is parallels with both a Hound and Jaime, which would make it ring more true thematically. With Sandor, their burn scars represent their disillusionment with knighthood. Both of them would have gained their scar when they lost their ideas of chivalry and honor, permanently symbolizing their departure from knightly ideals. And with Jaime, his burns destroying his face could parallel Jaime losing his sword hand, both losing the most integral parts of their identity. It's a common theme in the story for characters to be crippled of an integral part in themselves, and Loras' public image has always depended on his looks. When he returns, he'll no longer be the handsome and honorable knight we saw earlier. He will have disregarded all knightly ways and only care about saving his sister in King's Landing from Cersei and her plans. But, if he does manage to return for the trial by combat, he will face another challenge, Robert Strong. The Mountain has returned as a zombie, stronger and likely unkillable. They will finally have a rematch of the monster and hero battle they had at the tourney, but neither of them will be the archetypes they represented before. The broken and vengeful Loras will now face off against a zombie who is unnaturally resurrected, and likely in constant suffering because of the experiments. While this may sound like Loras will get curb stomped by Gregor, there are some things you should factor in. Not only has he given up his ideas of honor and nobility in favor of cunning and strategy, but he might have Widow's Wail with him. Tommen, whose favorite knight was Loras, presented him with an ornate sword when he left for Dragonstone. It may be the only excuse to see Widow's Wail again in the story, and Valyrian steel, being useful against the undead, would give Loras a bit of an edge in the battle. But there's one other option I see. While the Mountain could be put out of his misery by either burned, scarred, disgraced knight, Cersei is the enemy to Loras for trying to prosecute his sister, and perhaps taking some violent actions against the Tyrells in the future, if this show is to be believed. With Loras being the youngest brother of his household, it would make sense for Margaery to be the young queen to cast her down, and Loras to be the Valonqar, a symbol of her poor decisions finally putting an end to a reign of terror. This could be a perfect parallel to the young Jaime killing King Aerys for the greater good of the kingdom as well. But whichever knight he begins to emulate, Sandor or Jaime, we know that things will get much worse for Loras before they begin to get better. Loras' character arc paints him as the perfect representation of romanticized knighthood and its flaws, tying themes from Sandor and Jaime's past to create a tragic downfall for one of the most beloved knights in Westeros. While his potential is mostly overlooked due to his reported injuries and fate in that TV show, I think he'll have one of the most surprising and game-changing returns to the story, returning no longer as the knight in shining armor, but a hardened warrior, scarred and prepared to do whatever it takes for his sister or the city. But if I can hold out a little bit of hope, he, like his parallels Sandor and Jaime, will find some new life past the systems that have failed them and create their own ideals of a hero.